Welcome back to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we recalibrate your biology and rediscover your direction. I'm your host, Brandon Soika. If you've been following along, we've spent the last few episodes diving deep into how your biology drifts out of sync and what you can do to recalibrate it. But today, we're going upstream. Because before your labs shift, before your mitochondria burn out, before your gut barrier breaks down, there's a signal that tells your body what time it is. And if that signal is missing, everything else can feel off. Today's episode is all about that signal. Not a supplement, not a new protocol, just light. Specifically, morning light. Because it turns out this one free, accessible, non-negotiable input might be the most powerful hormonal reset tool you're not using yet. So let's get into it. Picture this. You walk outside in the morning, sunlight hits your skin, and you squint a little. That squint, it's not just your eyes reacting to brightness. It's your brain receiving the first command of the day. You see, light isn't just visual, it's informational. And your biology treats it like a master signal, one that sets off a cascade of hormonal, neurological, and metabolic events that determine how your entire day unfolds. We're taught to think of food as fuel, but we rarely think of light as fuel for timing. And that's exactly what it is. Inside your brain is a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. It sits just above your optic chiasm, basically where your vision nerves cross. This little nucleus is your master circadian clock. It tells every other system where to turn on, where to ramp down, and when to prepare for recovery. And what resets that clock every morning? Light. Specifically, when light hits a set of cells in the retina called the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, it sends a direct signal to the SCN. Wake up, set the rhythm, the day has begun. That one signal does more for your metabolic regulation than any other supplement or superfood can. In the Metabolic Compass model, orientation always comes first. If you don't know where you are or what time it is, your system starts guessing, and that's when it drifts. Light gives your biology its first daily orientation cue. No light equals no anchor. That's why we see symptoms like feeling wide awake at night but sluggish all morning, brain fog that doesn't lift even with caffeine, mood swings or irritability without any obvious trigger, or weight gain or hormonal irregularity that doesn't respond to diet. It's not just lifestyle, it's light-deprived drift. Here's what we know from the research. Even 10 minutes of outdoor light exposure within 30 minutes of waking can stabilize your cortisol rhythm, improve insulin sensitivity, decrease melatonin suppression at night, and enhance serotonin dopamine production. You don't have to meditate, journal, or biohack. You just have to step outside. And if you're thinking, but I get light from my windows or phone screen, it's not the same. Glass filters the spectrum. Screens send the wrong signal. And indoor light, even bright LED panels, are orders of magnitude weaker than natural sunlight. Think of your body like an orchestra. Every section, your gut, liver, brain, mitochondria, immune system, has a different role. But they don't just need the right notes. They need the right timing. Otherwise, what should be music turns into metabolic noise. That's what the SCN, your suprachiasmatic nucleus, is for. It's your internal conductor, and light is its baton. The SCN is a bundle of about 20,000 neurons located in the hypothalamus. It governs your circadian rhythm by interpreting light signals from your eyes, specifically from a type of cell in the retina that doesn't help you see, but helps you think. These intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells are wired directly to the SCN. They don't respond to shapes or movement. They respond to brightness, particularly the blue light portion of the spectrum found in morning sunlight. When they sense that light, the message is simple but powerful. It's morning. Set the clocks. That cue resets your entire biological rhythm for the day, starting with your hormones. So let's clear something up. cortisol gets a bad rap. It's labeled as the stress hormone, but its real role is circadian. You want cortisol to spike in the morning. That's what helps you feel alert, focused, and ready to move. It also raises your blood sugar slightly to energize your muscles, increases blood pressure to get oxygen to your brain, mobilizes fat for energy, and suppresses melatonin to help you fully wake up. That morning cortisol rise is known as the cortisol awakening response, and it's triggered by light. Without that light, the spike is blunted, delayed, sometimes absent. And instead of feeling ready to go, you feel foggy, irritable, dependent on caffeine, struggling to think clearly until late morning. Then, because your rhythm is now off, you might get a second wind at 9 or 10 p.m. when your body finally gets the signal it missed earlier. That's not insomnia, that's circadian drift. Your ability to sleep well tonight depends on what your brain saw this morning. Melatonin production starts roughly 14 to 16 hours after your first strong light cue. No morning light, melatonin timing gets thrown off. You feel wired at night even though you're exhausted. That's because your SCN is operating on guesses, not guidance. And if melatonin release is delayed or blunted, you're not just losing sleep. You're losing immune recovery, mitochondrial repair, gut lining renewal, and emotional and cognitive reset. Melatonin isn't just for falling asleep. It's for full body maintenance. And it all starts with your first light exposure of the day. Here's how this shows up in each compass domain. In nurture, more gut issues at night, increased food reactivity, slower immune regulation. In energize, fatigue in the morning, false energy spike at night, disrupted mitochondrial redox balance. In withdraw, emotional volatility, poor memory consolidation, and detoxification bottlenecks. And in strengthen, hormonal irregularity, sleep fragmentation, and increased inflammatory markers. And here's the worst part. This kind of drift feels subtle. You may not even realize it's biological. You just think, I'm not a morning person. I must be tired from stress. Maybe I need more magnesium or adaptogens or melatonin. But what you may actually need is light. Just 1 week of consistent morning light exposure has been shown to normalize cortisol rhythms, improve sleep onset and depth, increase serotonin production and mood, and reduce hunger and carb cravings throughout the day. And you don't need to move to a beach or live in a glass house to get these benefits. You just need to open the door. So in the next segment, we'll break down exactly how morning light triggers that healthy cortisol spike and why your entire hormone cascade depends on it. Let's get something straight. Cortisol isn't the villain. Yes, chronic stress and dysregulation can make cortisol a problem, but in a well-synced system, cortisol is actually one of your most important allies. It's the hormone that gets you out of bed, the one that sharpens your focus, and it sets the stage for everything from blood sugar regulation to fat mobilization to immune readiness. But here's the key. Cortisol is only beneficial when it follows the right rhythm, and nothing determines that rhythm more precisely than your morning light exposure. When you wake up and step into bright outdoor light, something powerful happens. Light enters your eyes and activates the retinal ganglion cells. That signal travels directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN. The SCN sends a message to the hypothalamus and adrenal glands to initiate a cortisol pulse. This is known as the cortisol awakening response. It's supposed to peak within 30 to 45 minutes after waking, gently taper throughout the day, be almost entirely gone by bedtime. This daily rise and fall is how your body turns off melatonin so you can be alert, regulates appetite through ghrelin and leptin, supports insulin sensitivity in the morning, and preps mitochondria for daytime energy production. In short, a strong, well-timed cortisol pulse is metabolically protective. If you stay indoors in the morning, if you scroll your phone before going outside, if your first strong light exposure doesn't happen until hours after waking, then that natural cortisol pulse gets delayed, gets blunted, or worse, flattens completely. And here's what that leads to. Brain fog that lingers through mid-morning, reliance on caffeine to feel alert, sugar cravings by 10 a.m., and cortisol surges later in the day, which can disrupt sleep, mood, and hunger signals. Your body doesn't stop trying to make cortisol, it just gets the timing. And when the timing is off, your internal orchestra starts playing out of sync. Let's look at this through the lens of the compass. In nurture drift, morning light is needed to regulate inflammation and circadian control of the gut-liver immune axis. When cortisol is delayed, immune regulation suffers. In energize drift, mitochondria use cortisol cues to prep ATP production. Without a morning peak, redox balance starts awful, lopsided. Withdrawal drift. Delayed cortisol can flatten your emotional baseline, leading to low resilience, poor focus, and irritability. Strengthen drift. Hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and thyroid hormone are all regulated by circadian feedback loops. So if cortisol is misaligned, your entire hormonal cascade drifts. You might recognize the symptoms as you hit snooze multiple times, you don't feel truly awake until noon, you crash mid-afternoon, you feel wired or anxious at nighttime, you crave sugar or salty snacks between 3 and 6 p.m., you sleep but wake up unrefreshed. These aren't character flaws, they're circadian consequences, and it's not your coffee, it's not your magnesium, it's not even your adrenal glands, it's your morning light exposure. Morning light isn't a nice to have. It's a daily signal that stabilizes your entire hormonal rhythm. You don't need a fancy light box, though they can help in the winter. You don't need to live on a farm. You just need to walk outside, ideally within 30 minutes of waking, and spend 5 to 10 minutes in real sunlight, even on cloudy days, even for shift workers, even for people who aren't morning people. Because while you may not love mornings, your biology depends on them. In the next segment, we'll talk about melatonin, the flip side of the light coin, and why your ability to sleep, detox, and regenerate depends on what your brain saw this morning. Let's flip the switch literally. Because if cortisol is your morning signal, then melatonin is your evening message. And here's the kicker. Your body can't send that message properly unless it saw morning light first. Melatonin and cortisol are circadian opposites, but they're also deeply interdependent. And when that rhythm gets disrupted, you don't just lose sleep, you lose repair, regeneration, and resilience. Most people think of melatonin as the sleep hormone, but that's like saying butyrate is just for digestion. Melatonin is actually one of the most versatile molecules in human biology. It acts as a powerful antioxidant in the brain and mitochondria, supports immune modulation, especially in the gut, enhances glymphatic clearance, your brain's nighttime detox system, regulates gut motility, especially in the colon, and helps modulate the gut-brain axis, especially mood and memory. In other words, melatonin doesn't just help you fall asleep. It helps your body rebuild while you sleep. But here's the catch. Melatonin is made in the pineal gland and secreted at night. But the signal to start that process, it's set by light exposure 14 to 16 hours earlier. So if you get bright outdoor light at 8 a.m., your body starts prepping melatonin production for around 10 p.m. But if your first strong light exposure isn't until noon, melatonin production might not kick in until 2 a.m., and that's if your system still knows what to do. This explains why people often feel tired but unable to fall asleep, restless in the evening despite being exhausted, or wired at night but foggy all day. It's not insomnia. It's mislabeled melatonin from misaligned light. Melatonin helps regulate mitochondrial function, liver phase 1 and phase 2 detox enzymes, gut barrier integrity and microbial balance, neuroinflammation, and memory consolidation. So if melatonin doesn't rise on time and taper off properly, you see poor REM sleep, brain fog, mood volatility, nighttime food cravings, constipation or sluggish motility, or fatigue that doesn't respond to rest. And this isn't just theoretical, it's measurable. Studies show that even brief exposure to blue light at night can suppress melatonin by up to 90%. And blue light isn't just from phones and TVs. It's from overhead LEDs, bathroom lights, kitchen lighting, laptops, tablets, even refrigerators. This is why night mode isn't enough. and why your morning light matters just as much as what you do at night. Melatonin touches nearly every compass domain. Nurture, it regulates the gut barrier, reduces inflammatory cytokines, and balances gut flora. In Energize, it restores mitochondrial health and oxidative repair during sleep. In Strengthen, it stabilizes hormonal rhythms and supports growth hormone and testosterone release. In Withdraw, it governs detoxification via bile flow, liver clearance, and lymphatic drainage. So if your melatonin is misfiring, your whole compass may be drifting. If your circadian rhythm is broken, taking melatonin can help temporarily, but it won't rewire the root problem, because melatonin production isn't just about supply, it's about timing. And the only way to fix that timing is with consistent morning light and low light at night. So quick recap. Melatonin is triggered hours before bedtime by the light you see in the morning. Skipping morning light equals delayed melatonin, which equals poor sleep, detox, and repair. You can't out-supplement a broken rhythm. You have to resync the signal. In the next segment, we'll explore how morning light impacts your mood, serotonin levels, and the mental health connection that most people overlook. Because the light you see first thing in the morning might be the most powerful antidepressant you're not using. Let's talk about what most people are really chasing. Not just better energy, but better mood. More calm, more motivation, more consistency. Less irritability, less anxiety, less feeling like you're just surviving the day. And while that might sound like a job for therapy or medication, there's one upstream signal that's free, fast-acting, and often overlooked. Light. Serotonin is your stability chemical. It plays a role in mood regulation, appetite control, sleep quality, impulse control, even pain tolerance. But serotonin isn't produced on command. Its production is deeply influenced by light exposure, especially in the morning. Here's how it works. When morning light enters your eyes, it triggers activity in the dorsal raphe nucleus, the brain's main serotonin production site. This signal increases the conversion of tryptophan to 5-HTP and eventually to serotonin. That serotonin does its job during the day, and in the evening, it becomes the raw material for melatonin. So serotonin and melatonin aren't just linked emotionally, they're biochemically connected. You don't get restful sleep without enough serotonin, and you don't get enough serotonin without morning light. You've probably heard of seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, a type of depression that flares up in the fall and winter when daylight hours decrease. But here's the twist. Many people today are living with chronic light deficiency, even in the summer. Indoor jobs, screen-first mornings, and late-night light exposure all add up to the same result: diminished serotonin signaling. That's why multiple studies have shown that bright light therapy, especially first thing in the morning, can be just as effective as antidepressants for both seasonal and non-seasonal depression. Light isn't just mood lifting, it's mood anchoring. So let's zoom in on how this shows up across the compass. In Nurture Drift, low serotonin alters vagus nerve tone and increases gut permeability. People report bloating, food sensitivity, and immune overreactivity. Withdraw Drift. Poor light exposure contributes to dysregulated stress response, emotional reactivity, and poor mental stamina. In Energize Drift, low serotonin affects reward sensitivity and mitochondrial readiness, increasing fatigue and making effort feel harder than it should. In Strengthen Drift, blunted serotonin signaling impacts hormone regulation, especially estrogen, testosterone, and oxytocin dynamics tied to motivation and social connection. In every domain, light is the upstream modulator. So, can you take 5-HTP or tryptophan to boost serotonin? Technically, yeah. But without this circadian cue of light, your body can't efficiently convert precursors into serotonin. And if your body isn't making enough serotonin during the day, your melatonin levels suffer at night. So you're not just low energy, you're low rhythm. This is why many people who feel anxious for no reason, crave carbs late at night, feel flat despite taking mood support supplements, are actually dealing with a light deficiency. So if you want more consistent mood, fewer energy crashes, less emotional volatility, better sleep and digestion, your first step isn't a supplement or a journal prompt. It's exposing your eyes to natural light within 30 minutes of waking, even if it's cloudy, even if it's cold, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Because what you're doing is not just seeing the light, you're telling your brain it's time to stabilize, time to reset. In the next segment, we'll give you a simple minimum viable morning light protocol, including how to adjust for shift workers, overcast days, and winter months. Because your biology doesn't need more complexity, it just needs consistency. You've heard the science. You know light anchors your cortisol, sets your melatonin, fuels serotonin, and stabilizes the compass. But the question is, what do I actually do with this? Because if you're like most people, you don't have 2 hours to sit outside. You've got kids, deadlines, commutes, and unpredictable weather. So here's the good news. You don't need perfection. You just need a signal that's strong enough and consistent enough to rewire your rhythm. Let's build your minimum viable morning light protocol. Your body is most sensitive to light within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking. That's when the SCN, your internal clock, is ready to receive a strong cue. So your first goal? Step outside. No sunglasses, no windows in between, no screens instead. Even if it's just 5 minutes on your porch, even if it's cloudy or overcast. Why? Because outdoor light, even on a cloudy day, delivers over 10,000 lux compared to 500 lux or less indoors. That's a 20 times stronger signal. And your SCN doesn't care about what you see, it cares about light intensity and timing. So the ideal scenario: go outside within 10 to 30 minutes of waking. Stay in outdoor light for 10 to 15 minutes, more if it's an overcast day. Combine with movement, walk, stretch, or breath work if possible. Avoid sunglasses during this period. So a realistic minimum viable dose: 3 to 5 minutes of direct outdoor light exposure within 30 minutes of waking. It can be standing on a balcony, front porch, or driveway. And if you absolutely can't go outside, stand by a window. Open it if possible. This alone begins the hormonal recalibration process. It starts the cortisol pulse, shuts down residual melatonin, and signals to your body it's morning, time to turn on. If you live in an area with long winters or minimal morning light, especially before work or school, a 10,000 lux light therapy box can help. Use it like this. Place it off to the side, not directly in front of your face. Use it for 10 to 20 minutes during your morning routine. Ideally, use it at the same time each day. These devices were originally designed to treat seasonal depression, but they've also been shown to improve energy, mood, focus, sleep quality, and hormone balance. They're not a perfect substitute for the full spectrum of natural sunlight, but they're the next best option when going outside isn't possible. Morning light is your anchor, but evening light is your suppressor. That means the light you see at night can undo the work of your morning protocol. So here's your evening light hygiene. Dim your house lights after sunset. Use warm or red light bulbs if possible. Avoid screens 1 to 2 hours before bed or use blue blocking filters. Keep bedroom light sources as close to 0 lux as possible. If morning light is your biological start signal, evening darkness is your shutdown command. You need both. If you wake up before sunrise or work at night, use a light box as soon as you wake up. Try to get real sunlight when possible, even if it's midday for you. Stick to the same sleep-wake window every day, including weekends. Black out your bedroom when sleeping during the day. Light still works. You just have to shift the schedule, not abandon it. So, a compass summary. Nurture. Light reduces gut reactivity by regulating cortisol and vagal tone. Energize. Light primes mitochondrial redox readiness and ATP output. Strengthen. Light stabilizes hormone rhythms and reduces drift. Withdraw. Light modulates stress response, neuroinflammation, and detox timing. No supplement, no wearable, no device replaces this. Morning light is your body's daily reboot signal. We'll close out with a reflection and a challenge, because this episode wasn't just about education. It's about your first recalibration practice. And the truth is, the biggest shift often comes from small daily commitments. Let's bring this full circle. If you've ever felt like your metabolism is on the fritz, like you wake up already behind, like you're doing all the right things, but something still feels off, start here. Start with light. Because no matter your symptoms, no matter your diagnosis, and no matter what supplement or biohack you're trying next, light is the most powerful and most overlooked metabolic signal we have. Before your coffee, before your to-do list, before your cortisol spikes the wrong way or melatonin misfires, you have a window. Roughly 30 minutes after waking, your brain opens its most critical input channel. And your choice is that in that window, light versus screens, nature versus filtered windows. Decide the rhythm of everything that follows. We don't say that lightly, pun intended. Because this is what sets your hormones on the right tempo, your energy on the sustainable curve, your mood on a stable baseline, your digestion, detox, and sleep repair into coordinated flow. And the most beautiful part is it doesn't cost a thing. When you open your phone first thing, that's a signal. When you stay in the dark until noon, that's a signal. When you skip the sun entirely for a week, that's a signal. Your body doesn't take a break from processing input. It just adapts to the dominant rhythm it's being fed. So the question isn't, is your biology responding? It's, what signal is your biology responding to right now? You get to choose. And when you choose morning light, you're choosing lower inflammation, balance your mood, reclaim your energy, sleep better at night, and begin rewiring your hormonal rhythm one morning at a time. So here's your compass challenge this week. Every day this week, get outside within 30 minutes of waking. Start with 3 minutes, then bump to 5. If you can get to 10 to 15, even better. Don't overcomplicate it. No biohackers only rules. No special timing, no fancy apps. Just go outside and let your eyes see the sky. If you're waking up before sunrise or live in a dark climate, use a 10,000 lux light box during your morning routine. This single shift may do more to recalibrate your body than any pill, powder, or podcast ever could. You notice the signs. You fall asleep easier without needing supplements. You stop craving sugar mid-morning. You wake up before your alarm and don't feel groggy. Your mood becomes more predictable. You stop feeling like you're constantly playing catch-up. That's not motivation. That's biological alignment. In our next episode, episode 18, What to Eat First Thing in the Morning to Stop the Crash Cycle, we're diving into the other major signal that sets your biological tempo. Because light is one pillar, but your first bite of food also sends a powerful message to your metabolism. And if that message is wrong, you set yourself up for blood sugar spikes, energy dips, and relentless cravings by 11 a.m. We'll show you how to break that cycle by knowing exactly what to eat first, when to eat it, and how to support your compass. Until then, here's your one-line action step. Don't wait for your body to feel better to start doing better. Start with the light. Let your biology follow. You've been listening to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we bridge cutting-edge science with real-life application to help you reclaim your health one directional shift at a time. To learn more, visit us at www.themetaboliccompass.com or follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Metabolic Compass. And if you haven't already, leave a review. It helps others find their way back to alignment too. Recalibrate your biology, rediscover your direction.